All right, guys. We are going to go ahead now and create our security groups. And here I'm going to be creating five security group. The first one is going to be application load balancer security group. It's going to be listening to port 80 and port 443. I'll equally create EC2 connect endpoint security group, and it's going to open only the outbound role at port for 22. Then I will create the web server security group, and it's going to allow traffic from the application load balancer. The inbound traffic is going to be from port 80, port 443, and port 22. Then we'll go further to create the database security group that's going to be opening inbound role from port 3306, and we'll be listening to the app security group. Then we're equally going to create the EFS security group that will be opening it inbound to port 2249, and we'll be listening to port the web server a security group, as well as SSH, which is going to be coming from the EC2 connect endpoint. So let's just go straight forward and do that. Once you are in your console, you can come to VPC here, and once you're at your VPC, since you have several VPC depending on where you're working on, I have just one. You can click here, select it, and then we can move down here to security groups. Once you're at security group, remember this one is just a default security group. So now we click create security group, and the first one that we're going to be creating here is going to be the application load balancer security group. So we see security group. Okay, so we create this. Once we're done with this, we're going to copy this from here, and we'll consider it as our uh, application load balancer. We consider this as our description. Just copy it, and then I'll paste it here. Then I'll go further to the VPC here. I'm going to choose my pro VPC, and then I'll go for I'll add the inbound role, and the inbound role, like I said earlier, we're going to open it from HTTP here, which is port 80, and it's going to be listening from anywhere over the internet. And then we add another one here. We are going to add HTTPS. Go down HTTPS, and it's going to be listening port 443, and we'll open it to anywhere over the internet. And once that is done, we scroll down and we look at the outbound role. We'll make sure that the outbound role is allowing traffic from anywhere. Once that is done, we can then create security group. Good, that has been created. Once it has been created, we go again to the next one, come back to security group, open it, and we say create security group. And the second security group that we're going to create is the EC2 connect endpoint security group. So what we're simply going to do, we could just say ECI security endpoint, EC2 security endpoint. So call it security group. All right, let's say SG. That will be much easier. Okay, security group. And what we do next is just simply copy from here, and we paste it here. So paste it here, and we select our VPC, and I'm taking my pro VPC, and then I'll go to inbound role. Here we are going to leave inbound role with nothing according to documentations. So I will instead go for outbound role here, and with outbound role I'm going to open traffic to SSH. Okay, open traffic to SSH port 22, and we are going to let it listen to the destination. Here is going to be from our VPC CIDR block. So for us to be able to get the VPC CIDR block, if I come here, I can open another link. All right, say another link here, and it will open here. And so if it opens here, what I simply do is come down to VPC, and if I this is the decider block here, I can just come here, highlight it, and then I can copy it, and then let's come back to our security group here, go down, and we click this one, and then we provision the new one by pasting it here. All right, so once that has been done, you say create. So that has been successfully created. So we move to the next one. The next one that we go to, come back to security group, and the next security group that we'll be creating here is, we call it our web server security group. So you just say web, just consider it as the web server security group. Okay, web server SG. And when we create that web server SG, we will come down to description here. I'm just gonna copy this, and I'll paste it here, and then I'll see it will allow our VPC here will be my pro VPC. And once that has been done, we move further first to look at the inbound role, and we add inbound role. And our inbound role here, we are going to open port we're going to open port 80, that is HTTP, and equally we're going to open HTTPS. Let's go down, and we are equally going to open we have 1 2, and then we'll open again port 22 SSH. All right, where is that? Go down. Am I going too fast? Let's come down a little bit, and we look where SSH here. Okay, now we have point 80. This port 80 is going to be listening to our application load balancer. All right, so we have application load balancer, and then we'll port 443 equally is going to be listening to our application load balancer. If you scroll down, you're going to see it here, and we click it, and then SSH here, our SSH here is going to be depending on our EC2 connect endpoint. So we have this one here. All right, once all of this has been done, the outbound role, we make sure that we allow it to all traffic, and once that has been done, we can just say create. Good, it has been successfully created. So our next security group that we're going to be creating, we come back here, we are creating our database security group, and when we come here, we say create, and so we say the database security group SG. Now once this has been typed, we can copy the same and put it in our description, and then we go for that and choose the VPC. The VPC we are going to choose here is my pro VPC, and here it's going to get its inbound rule just from one area. The inbound rule here is going to be from MySQL stroke Aurora, and that is 3306. So if we come down, look at MySQL and Aurora, so here is going to be listening to our traffic from our web server. All right, so if we come here, open to our web server. Good, so we can allow it to listen to traffic from our web server. I mean that will be all here, and the outbound role, we leave it to all traffic. All right, leave it to all traffic, and we proceed to say create, and it has been successfully created. So after this, now we go to our next, come here, security group, and so far we've created 1 2 3 4. So we have to create the last security group, since I said there were going to be 5, and the security group here that we're going to create is going to be EFS security group, elastic file system. So we say EFS EFS, call it security group. All right, security, okay, group. Okay, once we have security EFS security group created, I can just copy this and I attach to description. And the VPC, we choose our my pro VPC, and we are here inbound. Okay, the inbound here is we're listening to NFS. You have to be very careful when you are doing this. Look at the mistake I was already doing. And then I said it's going to be listening to traffic from our web server. So if we come down here, this is where the web server is, and then we add again another inbound here, and this one will be port 22 SSH, and here it's going to be listening to traffic from our EC2 connect endpoint, which is EICE. And once we've done this, we can then say create. Okay, now once it has been created, there will be something that we will need to do, right? So let's go back to security group here, and where is our EFS? That's one, the EFS security group. Let's open it, and once we open it, let's go to edit inbound role, and at the level of inbound role, we are going to add again inbound role, add inbound role, and we'll open again. Where is that? We are going to open NFS to listen to traffic from let's go down to EFS. So basically it is listening traffic from itself. All right, so this one is according to documentation, because we are going to be creating several resources and they are going to be interacting between themselves. This one is going to help, not to mess up with everything that we're going to be doing. So for that reason, I can just say create, and that is it. It has been successfully created. So from here, if we come back to our security group, we can be able to see the various security groups that we have created. All right, so today I'm going to be using EC2 Instant Connect. So for us to do that, we go to virtual private cloud VPC, and once we are in the VPC dashboard, what we simply do here is we move down to look where there is endpoint. If you scroll right down, you're going to see where there is endpoint. Am I going too fast? So okay, now this is where we have endpoint, and where there is endpoint, once you click it, you say create endpoint, and here it's going to ask for endpoint tag, and I can call it my pro endpoint. Just say my pro endpoint as such. And so here it's going to ask you to select the service that you want to use. Here, look at, there are different services that you could use for it, but we are concerned with EC2 Connect. So we select EC2 Connect endpoint, and down here it's going to request the VPC. And if you click here, you're going to see the various VPC. The one I'm using is my Pro VPC, so I will select my Pro VPC. And down here too is going to ask us to choose the security group. Remember, we created the security group EICE. Security group is for endpoint. So what we simply do here is we choose that security group here, and when we go down again, it's going to ask us to choose a subnet. And what we do here is we always choose the private subnet. So what we do here is I'm going to go down and I will choose the private subnet. The private subnet that I'm choosing here, you can choose any private subnet. So I'm just going to choose my app private subnet, EC2. All right, so I will choose this one, and once you have done that, just go back to be sure that you're choosing everything the way you want it. And once that has been done, you simply say create. So now when we are done creating our our VPC, our EC2 instance endpoint, what we are going to do is that we are going to move to EC2, and we will see how we can be able to um, create an EC2 instance in the private subnet, and we use our EC2 instant connect to to be able to launch it. Since it is taking some time, I'm going to pause this video and then I will come back to continue when it has completely launched. All right, my EC2 instance endpoint is now available, and if you look at the status here, you see it shows that it's available. So what we're going to do next now is that we're going to go to our EC2 dashboard, and once we're in our EC2 dashboard, we're going to create an EC2 in the private subnet. So once we are here, we're going to take EC instance, and we seek launch instance. So when we take launch instance here, it's going to ask for, we're just going to name it. I'm going to name it I'm just going to say my test instance as such. So once we take this, we go down and we'll take Amazon Linux. So from there, we'll move down and we'll be taking Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, and we can scroll down and we equally select T2 micro, that is the instant type. This one is a free tier, and then we go down. What we're going to do here too, when it comes to key pay, since we are using our instance EC2 instant connect, we are not going to need the key pay. So I will just say proceed without key pay. All right, and then for network settings here, if I click edit, it's going to request the VPC, and here I can choose my pro VPC. And for the subnet, we are going to choose any private subnet here. All right, so I can choose uh, private app subnet 1. All right, so auto assign public IP, it's disabled, so no problem. Now for the security group, we will select an existing security group, and here we have, when you click the drop down menu, we have web server security group. I will select that. Then we go down, and once everything has been done, we don't have any other thing to do here. All right, we say launch. So after we have successfully launched our EC2 instance, it's going to take a couple of minutes, and then it will be active. So here, what you can do here is, if we click here, it's going to take us to the instance that we've just launched. This is the instance here, and if I highlight here, it's in the pending stage, and we're gonna give it a couple of minutes for it to come on. And okay guys, after waiting for a couple of minutes, now our test instance is now running, and we can now go further to see how we can connect it to our EC2 instance and endpoint connect. So we come here, and when we highlight this, you click connect, and when you click connect, there are like we are using EC2 endpoint connect. So once you are here, what you do is we come down here and we'll select EC2 instant connect endpoint. So when you click here, it's going to request for the EC2 instant connect endpoint ID, and we already have the ID. It's automatically recognized since we only have one, and then it is allocating us a username here, EC2 user, and we just go further to say connect. Let's see, it's trying to establish connection. Let's give it a couple of minutes. There you go, it has been connected. Good. So once it has been connected, what we simply need to do here is we can run our common command that we always use here. Okay, so we see sudo yum update -y, and let's see, it should be able to establish us connection to the internet. Once that is done, it's going to do the connection. So it says here that dependencies resolve complete. So it means that there is nothing here for us to uh, to update, and everything is running perfectly. Okay, so basically that's what I wanted to show you guys, how you can be able to connect to our EC2 through the console. All right, thank you very much, and see you in my next video. Bye bye.